So, hello and welcome. My name's Steve Nobel, and today I'm speaking with Heather Hanson Wickman on escaping the corporate matrix. Now, Heather successfully climbed the corporate ladder before experiencing her own awakening, or what she calls her corporate crack. And over the course of 3 years, she was on an intentional journey to align with a deeper purpose, and now works closely with decision makers supporting their own leadership evolution to build soulful and healthy organizations. She specializes in organizational change and executive coaching, and she's the author of The Evolved Executive, and her website is untetheredconsulting.com. Hi, Heather.
Hey, Steve. So great to be here.
Yeah, now I know you've got a great story around climbing the corporate ladder and then an awakening and then something else happened. So what happened?
It's still happening. So my story is very similar to yours in terms of, kind of just climbing the thing that I thought you were supposed to do, kind of the normal trajectory of you grow up, you go to school, you go to work in corporate world, and you kind of climb that ladder. And like you said in the intro, I just kind of cracked, and I felt it coming for a little while, but then kept on shoving it away because I didn't really want to face the facts and the reality of the idea that this wasn't my path. And so I ended up kind of on a little bit of a whim leaving. But to your question, what happened next? It's been a pretty crazy wild ride for the last 3 years. And so I left, and which actually catapulted my husband to quit his corporate job as well. We basically sold everything we had, including our house, and traveled to Thailand for several months just to kind of do the whole eat, pray, love, and find ourselves again. And after that, we came back to the States and founded Untethered Consulting, which was this kind of idea that our corporate systems are so broken. I think organizations can truly be one of the most powerful places for human unfolding and personal growth, and they're designed completely backwards. And so my purpose has really been, how do we create organizations that are really rooted in love and not fear, and working with leaders who resonate and align with that belief in the first place.
Yeah. Now, when I worked in the corporate world, I really felt that some people seemed to love it. And I wasn't one of those people that really absolutely loved it, ever. I don't remember ever having one day where I go, I absolutely love being here. But I do think some people do love it. Do you find that some people are really just not suited for that life?
Yes, absolutely. And the interesting thing was I found a way to help myself believe that I loved it because I created this vision of myself that, was climbing this ladder and was in this position. And so I loved the climb of thinking that I was doing what I should be doing until you kind of wake up to a different part of yourself that's like, oh my God, Heather, this is not what you want to do, and this is not serving your highest purpose. And so for me, I can experience that idea of like, I thought I loved it, but when I actually unpeeled the layers back, I absolutely didn't. But I do work, and I did work with individuals that are very much aligned to, at least here in the U.S., kind of that competitive nature that we see in most organizations, that kind of eat what you kill, you're in for yourself kind of thing, and they thrive in that environment. And it not good or bad, I think it's just kind of their level of development or kind of where they're at in their own evolution. But yes, I would agree. Some people, it's spot on, and some people are in this wavering place of, I like it, but it doesn't feel like it fits. And then there's folks like me who kind of crack and are like, there's no way I can do it.
Yeah. Well, there's a certain amount of benefits for remaining in the corporate world for those who are doing it. There's a certain amount of money, I suppose, you can make. I mean, when I worked in finance, I saw people making ridiculous amounts of money, bonuses and buying Porsches and second apart, third apartments and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
There's status. I suppose there has been a certain amount of certainty and safety in organizations, or at least there has been. That may be changing to some extent. So it's a lot to give up, isn't it, considering to leave? You're giving up a lot.
I think there is the perception that you're giving up a lot. And from my own experience, I had the perception that it was safe and that there was security there, and that, I would always be on this path, and that someone was taking care of me in a way, financially or whatever it would be. And after coming out of it, and having several years to kind of reflect on that experience, it feels like it's just a giant illusion.
Yeah.
And so when I work with individuals right now, maybe going through a similar transition, it's about helping people see that it's perceived security. You could be fired tomorrow. Your organization could go bankrupt next week, whatever it might be. And the power and the status and the money, again, feels like just a little bit of an ego illusion. And when you can find something that resonates a little bit more at a core level, it feels like there's so much more reward.
Well, of course, there are problems of working in the corporate matrix. Certainly when I was there, and I imagine it's still the case, maybe even more. There was stress, there was pressure, there was deadlines, there was poor leadership. That's a nice way of putting it, poor leadership.
Yeah, that is.
There was working in an environment which I had no passion for. There was feeling a small cog in a big machine. There's, of course, commuting, which is a big issue for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So this is why a lot of people are just feeling squeezed out, I imagine.
Yeah, and I don't want to make the folks that love this work make it sound so terrible, but when I reflect on it, and some of the research that I've done in this space is right now organizations are making people sick in so many ways. And there's a recent book out called Dying for a Paycheck, and you'll see references to it on my website if you're interested. But this idea that we are working ourselves to death, and very literally. So some of the stats that the author highlights there is many workplaces are as harmful as secondhand smoke. And the one that's really interesting, well, two that are super interesting. One, but according to the Mayo Clinic, which is a huge healthcare system here in the U.S., the person that you report to at work is more important for your health than your family doctor, which is just a crazy, scary idea when you think about it.
Yeah.
In terms of, you try to do things for your health in terms of eating well, but when the end of the day comes and your boss has a big impact on your overall health and well-being, it makes you kind of rethink your job. And the last one that's crazy is over half of employees trust strangers more than their boss.
Yeah, amazing, isn't it? I got 58% of employees trust strangers more than their boss. That's quite staggering.
Yeah, it just highlights just, it doesn't sound nice, but I think about organizations as traditional common organizations as almost like this soul-sucking machine. Like it just kind of sucks the life out of us. And if we go to work every day and spend the majority of our lives in a team environment where we don't trust the people around us and our health is continually sacrificed, we are doing something dramatically wrong.
Yeah, for sure. And the other one, which is quite shocking, I thought that 79% of people who quit their jobs cite lack of appreciation as their reason for leaving. That's quite something, isn't it? Lack of appreciation. So actually appreciation is a big factor in work, obviously.
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. I was working with a client that over the new year I was chatting with, and recently in 2018 left her corporate job and started working on her own. And she said, the most surprising thing was someone said thank you. I was like, how appalling is that? She went years in her career, and the first thing she notices when she jumps out and works with clients individually is that people say thank you. Yeah.
Well, you also, I noticed on your website, you quote David White. I've met David White a couple of times in London and been to a few of his talks. Crossing the Unknown Sea is one of my favourite books.
Oh, mine as well.
And he says, so you've got it on your website, work is not a static endpoint or a mere exercising providing, but a journey and a pilgrimage in which core elements of our being are tested in the world. So, isn't that amazing? Do you want to say something about that? Because work is not just about a paycheck, is it? Core elements of our being tested in the world, or even considering work as a pilgrimage.
Oh my God. So David White is one that I just cherished. I read that book almost every year. And I think, and I read it early in my career, and I think that statement in that book really set me on a path of believing that work could be something different. And, I think we're looking to work to provide not just income in terms of a paycheck, like you said, but so many different types of income, whether it be fulfillment, meaning, connection, belonging, development, growth, awakening. And, the leaders that are going to be successful are going to be the ones that create environments that tap into that type of intangible benefit to work. And so I think there is a huge opportunity for us to create organizations in a way that David White describes, that allows us to find ourselves and recreate ourselves and kind of awaken to ourselves through our work, because we're testing and we're growing and we're stretching.
Well, for me, I came across this term inner potential some years ago in the 90s, and I was like, what is that inner potential? But then when I got into it, I realized that having left the corporate world, I realized there was things I could do that I would never have been able to do in the corporate world, such as write books or create websites or present or do public speaking or facilitate workshops or run an organization. I was running a non-for-profit. While I was working in the city, essentially I was kind of paper shuffling, really. It was money, but it's essentially paper shuffling. None of that would ever come out. There was no for some people, the corporate world, of course, may meet their values, but for me, when I did a values test, it was spirituality, creativity, freedom, and growth, and I wasn't getting any of that in that world. So, of course, if you're not getting it in the environment, you have a choice, which is, of course, you can pressurize your boss and try for a promotion, but there's also leaving.
Yeah.
Which is the scary option, isn't it? It's the scary option.
It's a much more daunting option, correct?
Yeah. So let's say someone, they've been in the corporate world, like you, like me, and they go, you know what, I have to get out. And they're in that crossroads place, the place of contemplating, and they're thinking about it. I mean, for some people, I think they think about it for years, and some people it just takes months.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone who's in that space of thinking about it?
Yeah. I would say ask for some help. And that was one thing that I didn't do soon enough. So I probably contemplated in that space for years, so probably 2 years, and did it all in my own head and didn't seek out people outside of my kind of circle within work. And obviously the folks within work are going to kind of convince you to stay and convince you to keep pushing, and it's going to get better. And what you really need is maybe an outside perspective, and also the other thing that I would say, which is the hardest thing, because it's the hardest thing for me, is trust. There was this voice within me that, was repeating and almost begging to you know what you need to do. You just need to leave, and we will create the path. And that was something that in my analytic kind of programmed mind, I couldn't grasp. I just couldn't grasp right away until I finally just kind of cracked, and it kind of set the path in motion. But looking back, I would say those two things is ask for help, and then find whatever you can do to trust yourself and trust that inner voice.
I think that's very important, isn't it? If we're trained in left brain thinking, and suddenly we're being presented with an inner guidance, intuition, heart impulse, and our tendency probably is to squash it. We're trained to go. I know when I was leaving the corporate world, and I just kind of asked for a sign, and the question was, should I resign? And then I got the sign, the Nike sign, just do it. And my mind immediately went, that's crazy. You can't, because of a t-shirt, you are not leaving your job. And I remember the voice going. So eventually I did resign within 24 hours, I think, and because I saw the same sign again. And I thought, well, I've asked the question. It is hard for people who are very rational to trust. It may be easier for people who are a bit more right-brained, or perhaps people who have done some spiritual work. Would you say? Absolutely.
And folks that have some knowing of that inner voice to begin with, so they don't think that they're crazy in their head. And so for me, that I was at a point in my own kind of spirituality that I just thought that was crazy, irrational thinking. And this voice was just me kind of losing myself, or kind of, going crazy. So I didn't have the kind of the spiritual acumen to really trust it. So I think you're absolutely right. People that have, or people who are more in touch with that inner sense and that connection to something larger than themselves, I think have a little easier path of trust, or at least that's my hope.
Yeah, I think having some self-awareness is really important. I mean, on your website, you've got a blog post called The Minion Revolt, and minions being those lovely Despicable Me yellow characters. But you think of them as these kind of sub-personality energies, and of course we all have these different sub-personalities. Some of us are driving forward, very, as you mentioned, is competitive. Some of us are more introverted, some rebellious, some conforming. We have all these different energies inside of us. Well, when we contemplate leaving the corporate world, it's a big choice. Some parts of us may celebrate, yay, at last. Some parts of us may not. Was this your experience?
This was absolutely my experience. And the way for me to have some kind of levity throughout this was to think of them as minions, and so that made it more fun. And literally I could begin to feel those minions that were fighting me, that were saying, this is a terrible move, what are you going to do, you're destroying your career, you're going to be broke, you're going to be living with your mom, you're gonna all these kind of things, that were the really loud minions. And I come to find out that those were the personalities or citizens in my universe that were just given more airtime. And so it began to kind of unleash this idea that I need to give center stage to parts of the minions, parts of me that haven't been seen very much. So, the risk taker, the rebel, the activist, the advocate that wants to do something different in the world. And so it's been this incredible journey of getting to know other parts of my personality, other minions, and deciding very intentionally and purposefully, okay, who's coming to the table today to do the work that I need to do today? And, when I can feel the minions that are holding me back or creating a lot of fear, I can kind of do a timeout today and be like, okay, I love you, but it's time to take a spa day. You need to go away right now and do something and make a different choice.
Yeah. I guess for anyone contemplating such a big decision, fear is going to be one of the main factors. Fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
And there could be fear around money. There could be fear around what my family might say. Or I know when I made the step, my fear was I'm going to be homeless. This was my fear. And I even went and found a spot and looked, if I'm homeless, this is where I'm going to sleep. It was a nice nature place. So
yeah.
Do you think there's a value in becoming more conscious of our fears and embracing them rather than trying to push them away? I mean, obviously we don't want to be immersed in fear. Sometimes we just have to take time out. But do you think sometimes we have to kind of go, what is this fear real?
Yes. So in my experience, the only way for me to kind of loosen the grip of fear is understand where it's coming from. And to your point, I've gotten into situations where I've dwelled in that fear too long, where it doesn't serve me anymore. But for me, the homelessness was absolutely a fear. Like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I don't have a regular paycheck. Where am I going to live? All this kind of stuff. And even today, I still have fears as it relates to, the ebbs and flows and client and work and all these kind of things. But I can hang with fear a little bit differently today, and it's a different relationship in terms of it's no longer this dreaded heavy feeling that gets me into a place of strategizing, action, all these type of things. It's more a reflective place around what is this teaching me? What's belief here that I need to work with to be able to kind of get back to a place of joy and comfort and trust. And so I think there is many different techniques, and I know that you work with this stuff as well in terms of how to look at fear a little bit differently and to embody its teaching in a way that is healthy and good for us.
What about the question of timing? Okay, I've decided I'm leaving. For some people, there's still a question of timing. I found that for some it's like instant, and they could do a leap of faith, and for others it needs to be more planned and more, steps in place. Do you find that?
Yeah. I tend to work more with senior executives within organizations, so individuals that have been with an organization for a long time or at least been climbing the ladder for a long time. And the longer that they've been there, the less likely I've seen people to take a leap. It tends to be a really big struggle in terms of having to find the strategy and the path and how am I going to do this and what are my, going through all those fears. And so it seems to be this practice of unlearning. And so it takes time to be able to shed the idea of my value is related to my title, or the only way I'm going to make money is by this organization. So it tends to, from a timing perspective, I think my experience has been we have to unlearn a lot of the programming that has got us to where we are to get us to a different place. And that tends to take, months to years.
And another aspect of this I found on my journey is moving from one mindset to another, which was an employee mindset where, I can make decisions, I could lead people, whatever, but I'm still getting that paycheck. It's, the mothership is feeding me, Yeah. And then I leave, and suddenly, whether I'm a freelancer, an entrepreneur, a sole trader, going into partnership, whatever, I'm suddenly responsible for generating my path, my livelihood, the opportunity.
Yeah.
I'm responsible for all of it. And rather than, well, Bob's going to take care of that, and I can do this, and Jane over there will take care of that. Suddenly, you might be a one-man band. You may have people you can work with. You may outsource things, of course. But it's a different mindset. Have you not found?
It's a sneaky mindset because it seems like you can see other people doing it, and it's like, oh, that looks easy. Like I could do that. I could be an author, a XYZ, an entrepreneur, a coach, a consultant, and then when you get into that, it is those two, I think, dichotomous mindsets kind of smack you upside the head. Because you are the one-man show. You're the accountant, the IT person, the social media person, the content, the spiritual director, all of these things in one. And I think there is a mindset, for me at least, that was from I would say kind of a fixed to a growth mindset. So this idea of, I've got this plan, and if it doesn't work, I'm a failure, and all these kind of things, to the growth mindset that's, I'm going to try, and I'm going to learn, and I'm going to see how it goes. And I think there was a huge switch for me in that space when I said, it's not failure, it's learning. I'm going to figure it out. I'm not going to be perfect the first time around.
I know, I used to joke with friends that if I was kind of a singer at a rock concert, I'm the singer on stage, and I'm the guy selling the t-shirts, and I'm the guy flipping the veggie burgers. And people have said to me, how many people on your team? And I'm like, it's just me. I'm the one interviewing, editing, doing the social media, it's just me. That doesn't mean that I don't ask for help, and it's important not to do it all ourselves, because there are certain things in terms of IT or design I can't do. But now we're living in a different world where we can outsource very easily. There are lots of websites where you can get things designed, or little voiceovers. There's all kinds of things now. So we don't have to do it all ourselves, do we?
We don't. And I think that's an interesting point from the asking for help, and one that I stumbled with a lot in terms of, I think I was brought up in an environment where asking for help looked like weakness, like you couldn't then do it. And instead, throughout this process, I've realized that asking for help is not only freeing from my own soul perspective, but it also gives another person the opportunity to contribute and to add value. And, I got some wonderful feedback from a colleague that was, if you don't ask for help, I can't help you. And it actually makes me feel good to help you. And that was very simple, but this huge awakening to the idea of, like, it's selfish almost for me not to ask for help, because someone else has a gift out there that's not being able to be utilized. And I don't say that from a super selfish perspective, like I ask for help and don't do anything on my own. But it's was really awakening to the idea that asking for help can be a huge element of creating community and creating a connection and belonging with people all around you.
Yeah, that's wonderful, Heather. Well, Heather, it's amazing. Thank you so much for chatting with me. And I just remind people your website is untetheredconsulting.com, and your book is The Evolved Executive. People want to buy that. Do check out Heather's website. And thanks, Heather, for chatting.
Thanks, Steve, so much. I really appreciate the opportunity.